Hey guys, Zero here. It's Tamiya Tuesday, and I have a very cool, very old Tamiya that I've been toying with back and forth whether or not I was going to get one. They re-released it several times, and I kind of was like, yeah. I remember the problems I had with it, although I remember the good times. There were problems with the chassis and the design and stuff, but true story, this is my very first hobby grade RC. As a kid, I grew up in a rough neighborhood, right in the heart of Chicago, Homer Park. There's a lot of drugs, a lot of gang banging, a lot of shooting, a lot of violence. And in Homer Park, you're a young boy. This was in the day. Now this isn't now. I'm not speaking for now because I don't live there anymore. But back in the day, in the 80s, like late 70s and 80s, man, you had two choices. You either joined a gang or you got beat up or worse, killed by one. And that's just what it was. There was no, if your parents couldn't afford to get you out of there, that's just what it was. You were in one of those, or you stayed at, the third choice was stay at home and don't ever leave the house, which I tried to do most of the time. I tried to stay in the house, and only go to school, but my way to school was through gang infested territories. You know what I'm saying? I remember one time coming home from school once, school had let out and there was actually a turf war. There was a fight. There was a gang fight right on the Humboldt Avenue, right on the street in the park there where we were going to go home. And there were people beating each other with sticks and knives. It was bad. And I think I was like 10, 11 years old, and the worst part about it was I knew people that were in the fight. I knew there were kids in my neighborhood in that fight. I doubled back to school. They wouldn't let us into school because it was closed. You know what I'm saying? And that, you couldn't go back into school back then. So we had to double around. I had to go like a mile down, to North Avenue, and walk all the way around North Avenue to my block, and then walk all the way down my block, cross the tracks, just to get home. And eventually I got older, and I got involved. It started with just trying to keep my neighborhood safe, looking out for people getting their bikes stolen and stuff. I got my bike stolen, so a bunch of the gangbangers in my neighborhood, they knew what happened. They saw, and they grabbed me and they took me and they went and got my bike back. They helped me get my bike back. And ever since then, I had, that was my debt. I had to work, I had to do to be a part of it. My mother found out I was a part of it, and it freaked her out. You know what I'm saying? And she, through the grace of God, she got an offer on another house somewhere north. Further north, not that much further, but further north, and we were able to move out, and I got out of it, but I was still in it. Going into high school, I was still doing that stuff. When she realized that it was still, no matter where I went, I was still going to be on the street doing that stuff. One year, I don't know what it was, she just came home one year and she said, hey, it's your birthday, what do you want for your birthday? And I was like, I don't know, and she brought me home. Before that, she brought me home some magazines from work. She used to work downtown. She used to get magazines, stuff the kids would like, so she brought me an RC magazine. I think it was Radio Control Car Action, and on the cover there was a picture of the Tamiya Frog, and I was like, that's the coolest shit I ever saw. I actually redrew it on my folder, my Trapper Keeper at school, and I carried it around with me through high school. But so she asked me what I wanted. I said, I don't know, take me to a hobby store, let's go and see. She knew there was a hobby store, Stanton Hobby, nearby. So we went out there and we were looking, and I originally wanted an airplane, like one of those jets that fly, you know what I'm saying? And I was, oh, they're awesome. They had them hanging from the ceiling, big F-15 with the red, white, and blue, beautiful jet. She's like, no. She's like, no, mijo, that's too much money, and it was like in the thousands, which rightly so. So we went back by the RC cars, and I saw them, and I saw the Frog, and I was like, oh, that's the one on my magazine, that's the one, on my cover, my folder. And we were looking and looking and looking, and they explained to her, you got to buy the car, you got to buy the radio, excuse me, you got to buy the battery, you need tools. So the price tag started going up and up and up and up. So she was like, well, is there any other cheaper ones? And then we saw the Tamiya Grasshopper. And that was by far the cheapest kit they had at the time, you know, because you had the Grasshopper, the Hornet, and every car thereof was a step up and a price cost higher. So she wound up getting me the Tamiya Grasshopper. Although it wasn't my first choice, it became my first car. You know, so I went home, well, we went home, it was Friday, no, it was a Thursday. We went home and I went to school the next day. I was so entranced with this kit because I didn't even open it. I just got it home because it was kind of late. We ate dinner, went to bed. I was super excited, you know, got home that Friday night, did my homework because my mother was insistent, like, do your homework, then you can do whatever the hell you want, I don't care. And she would go out on the weekends, you know, she'd go party, whatever. You know, I usually have a babysitter or whatever, and we'll stay at my best friend's house, my buddy Brian. I'd go to his house and spend the weekend. But this time I stayed home. I was like, nope, I'm gonna stay home and I'm gonna build this car. I didn't come out of that room, unless it was to go to the bathroom and eat, till Sunday, until I finished this kit. And it took me a couple days because I was completely new to electronics, to speed controls, to motors, to wiring, to screwing stuff in together. I was completely new to that stuff. I've been around garages and I've seen cars worked on, so I knew what a screwdriver was, a Phillips, ratchet wrench. I knew all that stuff, but I didn't actually put knowledge to work. But I did. I finished the kit and I was running it by Sunday afternoon, and I was just hooked immediately. I was immediately hooked. Stay over there, kitty. So here I found online, I was looking for another kit, believe it or not, but online some guy had an original 1988 Tamiya Grasshopper chassis. He called it a roller, you know, obviously that's what they call it because it's just, you know, if you want to use it for parts or whatever. But I was looking through the pictures, I was looking through the description, I was like, you know, this isn't in bad condition. And the price was so low, it was cheaper than a brand new Riri, which I was going to get. I was just going to get a Riri, build it, have my son use it. But I noticed that the guy who owned it actually put in these struts. And I'll go over that when we go to the table. But it got me thinking, like, you know what, I could do this. I'm going to rebuild it. I follow a guy online. His name is Glenn. He does Tamiya Legends, and I've been following him for over a year now, and it's just been inspiring to see all these retro cars. And I didn't know that there was such a community for it. I thought, you know, people who were into RCs now were only into the really high speed racing competition, you know, crappy cars that look like house slippers. You know, they all look the same with the forward square cabs. I can't stand those cars. Nothing had that look of the old Tamiyas, that, you know, that old stylish look. Some of them were outlandish. You know, there were some that were pretty wild, but they were still stylish. Even the Grasshopper, as simple as that kit was, it kind of looked like a Baja buggy. You know, so I said, you know what? I'm going to bite the bullet. I bought it. I'm going to refurbish it. I'm going to show you all the stuff I picked up for it and what I'm going to do to get this thing back to running status. And I might shelf it, you know, it's definitely going to be a shelf queen, but I'm going to run it a little bit, let my son run it, so he can understand what these cars were, like, even to me. And to you guys out there, the nostalgic, you know, collectors of, you know, of old Tamiyas and things like that, Kyosho's, you know, things like that. So we're going to take a quick look, we're going to get to the table, and we're going to really get into this thing and see what's going on in here. Sit tight. Alright guys, so here she is, and she looks pretty tore up, you know, but at first glance you think, okay, what a piece of junk, you know, but like the Millennium Falcon, you know, there's more on the inside than you see that counts. First off, this chassis is still good. There's no splits. It's all scuffed up and scratched and stuff like that, but there's no breaks in the chassis. The arms for the rear support are still intact, which is rare. You know, I've owned this car. I've owned 3 versions of this car. The Hornet, or not the Hornet, the Grasshopper 2, the Rising Fighter. I've owned several versions of this. I've broken many versions of this car as well. So believe me when I tell you, it's actually in pretty good condition, you know, for an old 1988 car. whoever owned this car installed their own bumper, which I thought was pretty damn cool. I mean, I like the original bumper, and I'm still on the fence of whether or not I'm going to go buy the original bumper for it. But I do like this bumper because just for running around and bashing, this is a far better design. This is going to give it more resistance to impact up front, you know. And these arms are super tight. He also installed these very interesting support arms. Now, anybody who knows the Grasshopper has a history with Grasshoppers, Hornets, fighting buggies, you know, super Hornets, you know, whatever special variant of Grasshopper you had. You know, or you should know, if you used it, these things would snap constantly. They would snap regularly. Right here, this whole piece holding the shock would snap. And the shock was just basically a plastic stem with a spring, you know. So the suspension on here was basically spring activated. There was nothing fancy about it. You could customize it and get these little conversion pieces for it back in the day and actually add oil shocks, but pretty much if you bought this kit, it was bare bones. It was pretty much the bare bones of the entry level bare bones of a hobby grade RC. So she's got some wear and tear on those tires. You know, there's some age here. The front tire's installed backwards. That's hilarious. Our front wheel. And these wheels are gnarly. They're chewed up, you know. He's got the original heatsink on there, which doesn't look to be overburned. Those things, you guys know those things, and shits get hot as fuck. Burn your hands. There's the original manual speed controller. I hated these things. Hated. Any sign of fucking water, it would be out of circuit. Any distance past the radio's frequency, the 27 megahertz, this thing would do whatever the fuck it wanted. And sometimes that speed controller would lock up and that car would just go. Matter of fact, that is the first destructive accident I had, and I'm talking completely destructive, with my Grasshopper, my original one. We were playing, you know, on the sidewalk, because you live in the city, that's just what you do. And there was cars, you know, driving back and forth, doing what cars do. And my speed controller just got jammed, you know, in the forward, obviously. So the thing just ripped off the sidewalk into the grass, up over the curb. It bounced over the curb, ran right into the street, and there was this huge Cadillac. He was just cruising, man. He wasn't even going that fast. And I felt like he saw it but didn't care. But my buddy was like, nah, dude, he wasn't even looking. And he literally smashed the whole car. I mean, came at it right here, the whole chassis split, destroyed the speed controller, destroyed the receiver, the servo. I mean, this car was complete. The only thing that was good in the car was maybe the transmission, you know. But I was like, holy shit, there went, you know, $150, you know, because I think that's what it cost at the time, or 120 or something. It was something like that. But that was just the car, but not to mention all the internals from the Futaba, because back then you'd have to buy a radio that came with 2 servos, 2 receivers, because you needed a servo for the speed control and a servo for the steering. So you had to get that radio, and those radios were upwards of $100-something. So this guy doesn't have a battery tray, but that's okay. I picked one up. It does look like whoever made this strut bar or this arm support made it custom, or ordered it custom, because it's got the cutouts for the steering servo and everything in there. It's pretty cool. I'm gonna keep that. I don't even know what this receiver looks like. It's like a brown receiver. It's a Futaba, I think. I don't know. I'll have to take this foam off. People would put the foam in to reduce heat, but that really didn't work. It actually created more heat. As far as I'm concerned, I don't, you know, have 100% experience, but you never know. So that's, yeah, man, this is a classic, dude. This is old school original. You know what I mean? The battery for the receiver. You don't even need these anymore. I don't know if I'm going to modernize it. I was debating on modernizing it with an ESC and a better receiver. I might get a better receiver because I need one, because I like my new radio, my Fly Sky. And probably upgrade the servo, because, you know, you can't have a cheapest servo with a fast car. But again, this is going to be primarily a shelf queen. So I'm gonna get her running. so we can run her once in a while, but I'm not gonna make it so that it's like, you know, supercar. And I don't know where these shocks came from, but these shocks, I don't know if they're oil filled or not. They feel like they are. So I'm gonna tear those apart and see what's up with those. I've seen them online, real cool shocks, but they needed like a special bracket to be placed on. Yeah, and they got the bracket on there too. So I'm gonna take a look at these shocks. It's kind of cool. You know, I might not mess with it. I might just clean everything up and not mess with that part at all. Looks like this arm is a little bent right here. This arm right here is a little bent. That's okay. Again, it's not, you know, it's not about race performance. It's about restoring and the nostalgia of having my original RC back. Brings back a lot of memories, man. A lot of times, you know, that I was stressed out or whatever, and I couldn't deal with shit. You know, I was a teenager, man. You teenagers got hormones going left and right. And I would take this thing out in the middle of the night and just rip it. It just, you know, just helped me focus, man. You know, it's weird. I don't want to credit one thing for, you know, keeping me sane or organizing thoughts, but this was definitely one thing in that group of things that did that. There were people in my life at the time that came into my life that really helped me focus and organize, you know, my thoughts, and, you know, develop me into a young man rather than a punk that I was becoming. You know, so that, you know, that it changed a lot of things. So I picked up a bunch of stuff for it, obviously, you know, to restore her to her proper glory. First and foremost, I picked up a battery cover. It was a little pricey, but, you know, I needed one, so you gotta have one. And I know there's a guy out there who, Ampro Engineering, I'm gonna check him out. 3D printed stuff. He does some really cool shit, and he does a lot of cool shit for these old vintage buggies. So I'm gonna check him out, see what I can find. If I can, you know, if I really want to go balls to the wall with this truck or this buggy, you know, like go ballistic, I'm gonna check him out and see what he's got. I picked up a set of bearings just to redo all the gears and stuff like that, because I don't know what the condition the gearbox is in. You know, it didn't say, it just said well used. So I'm assuming I got to do some rework or maybe even some replacement on the gears. Maybe, I don't know, but I definitely bought some ball bearings for the car, because I firmly believe in ball bearings. I mean, and if, you know, I didn't get the fully sealed metal ones, I got the rubber seal ones, because again, this is not going to be a daily driver. This is going to be a once in a while nostalgia use, you know. So it's dirt's just falling off this thing. I actually bought a brand new set of wheels, the actual Tamiya wheels for this thing. I feel like I could use these, you know, if I want to go out in the mud or the rain or whatever, but I want to keep these to keep her, because I actually want to paint this thing. I was gonna go with the original colors, you know, the white, the bone white color, or eggshell white, whatever you want to call it. But I think I'm gonna paint this guy green. I've always had the vision of the Grasshopper being green, and I know that they released a metallic green version, but I'm talking like the green, the whole chassis. I'm gonna redo the chassis, everything. It's gonna be in green. You know, the arms, maybe not. You know, maybe do that. The arms and the Nerf bars, I'll probably do in silver, but it's definitely gonna be green. She's gonna look nice. So I'm debating on painting these wheels, you know, to get them up to par. I also bought a brand new set of tires, Tamiya tires for this kit. For this, the Frog, the Hornet, any one of those kits. Unfortunately, I got the Hornet tires. They're the spiky ones, and as you see, the Grasshopper's original tires were paddle tires. They were, you know, for the sand and soft dirt, which is fine. Again, I have them on this one. They seem pretty fine. They seem a little stiff. There's nothing inside there, no foam, no nothing. But I'll clean these up. I'll try to restore them, you know, get them some TLC, some silicone, get some foam inserts for them, and try and rebuild them so that, you know, they're functional. But I definitely like the pin tires. I've always liked pin tires on old school buggies. It looks cool as hell. I also picked up a couple other things. I got a bag of screws, you know. This is for the wheels. I did not know that the wheels came with them. Actually, this is actually what came with, that's the ones that came with the wheels. I apologize. But I ordered another stainless steel bag of kit of screws for the Grasshopper. I didn't know that the wheels came with their own screws, because you actually have to screw in these wheels, like almost like bead locks. I also picked up a body, brand new body. I believe this is the Riri. It doesn't actually say. It doesn't say on there. It's not stamped or anything. You know, like, I mean, it doesn't have its timestamp. But to me, this looks exactly like the original body that I had. And there's some scoring you have to do here to clean up the lines. We're gonna buff that out. But it came with the driver, which is really cool, because I was kind of looking around for a driver, and I've been wanting to paint one of these for a while. It also came with a full instruction manual for the kit, which blew my mind, because I was asking online in my group, my Tamiya Legends group, for someone who had it, and someone linked me to a site that had it on digital, so I could just download it and look at it, which was really cool. Thank you, by the way. But this body came with instructions, so I was like, yo, that's what's up. You know what I'm saying? Like, that actually worked out pretty well. I also bought Tamiya tape for masking and stuff like that, but I got that in another video. But yeah, we're gonna get this bad boy up and rolling, and I actually just went and picked up some very cool. This is from Testers. It's a lacquer spray for hard shell bodies. You know, make sure when you're getting spray for these kits, you're getting the right spray. If this was polycarbonate, I would get polycarbonate spray or Lexan spray. This is not polycarbonate. You know, it's ABS, so you want lacquer or enamel or something that's going to stick to this ABS. Now, I'm going to sand it, I'm going to primer it, and I'm going to do everything I'm supposed to do with it, but you still want, you know, you want the paint that's going to be there, stick on there properly. So the chassis and the body, maybe the wheels will be this green, this lime ice is what they call it. It's like a metallic lime. It's a cool color. And I think it'll still work with the stickers that are on the body, which also this came with. It came with decals. Now the decals are Riri decals, so they don't have the KC stickers for the headlights and stuff like that. But that's okay. You know, I'm okay with that, because again, I'm not doing it 100% original box art. I'm doing it with the green and silver. You know, I'm giving it that Grasshopper look. I always felt like the Grasshopper should have been green. You know, but that's just me. The Hornet was black and yellow, you know, but the Frog and the Grasshopper were white, and it was just like, it's weird, but whatever. But yeah, that's what it's all about, right? Like getting these things together and making them your own. So I will do a series of videos with whatever updates I do with this buggy when I start working on it and stuff like that, and I'll show you guys kind of the progress of what I did with it and what I'm gonna do, or how it's going, and if it's pissing me off or whatever. It's going to take me some time, so please be patient with me, but I will get it done. Project Grasshopper is underway, and I'm excited. You know, I'm excited to build this. I'm excited to, or rather rebuild it, and I'm excited to have this project available to me. And it's just, like I said, man, you know, I could get a better RC car. I have better RC cars. You know, there's way better than the Grasshopper performance wise, but the history with this buggy can never be matched by anything else I own. You know, there's nothing that I could ever own that would match what this has done for me. And you know, my mother, we're not doing too well right now. We're not speaking right now, and I know I'm wrong. I'm bad for, or they call me a bad son for not talking to my mom right now. We got personal stuff going on, but I want to say thank you to my mom. Greatly, thank you deeply, because if you hadn't have taken the chance to push me into something like this, I have no idea where I would have ended up. I know that meeting my wife helped me get away from doing a lot of bad things, but my mother pushing me into this hobby is what really was the catalyst for my mindset and my change of mind, and my persona, you know what I'm saying, my spirit, man. Like, I was down a bad road and I was doing really bad things. I regret, you know, now I pray for forgiveness now for those things that I've done. Still, is how bad it was. But without my mom taking that chance and pushing me in the right direction, or in a direction she felt it was better for me, which it turned out to be it was, you know, who knows? I could be dead. I could have been dead. I could have ended up, you know, who knows? Strung out on drugs, whatever bad scenario ends with gang banging and drug dealing and, you know, and that type of shit. So, you know, this car is extremely valuable to me. So thank you, Mom. I love you. I know we don't talk, but I love you. And I'll never forget the steps you took to keep me on the right path. Not just this, but everything you've done to keep me on the right path. To make me a better person, a better man. Alright, guys. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. I'll leave my PayPal information in the description below if anybody wants to support the channel. I could get more of these kits out, you know, to do builds for you guys or whatever, you know, if you guys, anything you want to see unboxed, you know, or if you want to send me some product, you know, if you got something you want to see on the channel, just send it to me and we'll see what we can do, you know, or email me and let me know, you know, I mean, we'll talk about it. I'm up for all kinds of stuff. You know, I love doing this stuff. I love these hobbies, all of them. My war gaming, my board gaming, my Warhammer 40K, my airsoft, you know, my real steel shooting, you know, everything, all this stuff. I love it. Otherwise, I wouldn't put it out there for you guys. So, I appreciate it. And again, thank you for watching. And please like, subscribe, share, whatever, you know, whatever, any support you give is greatly appreciated. Thanks for watching, guys.